Steve, you are on with Dr. Darrel Ray. How are you?
I'm okay. I was hoping I could talk to Matt a little bit.
Well, okay. I'm here too.
Basically, I guess the theme of the week is religious. Do you think religious trauma isn't real? And I had some things, some words and phrases to throw out. One of which is Jerusalem syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's when people basically go to Jerusalem and they have some kind of breakdown.
Yep. Yeah, it's actually been quite old. It's been around for centuries, thousands of years, before Christianity, before Judaism. Probably first seen maybe even in Zoroastrianism. So yeah, I know.
You want to think about something that's really cool? Watch footage of the Beatles' first concerts, and you will see something that is every bit as serious and pronounced as Jerusalem syndrome in the women who are screaming and fainting and overcome with ecstasy at the mere presence of the Fab Four.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I wouldn't really call it trauma, but I had my own mental health issues, and a lot of them had to do with waiting for like a higher power to basically speak to me, and I eventually came to the conclusion that I should start taking my life into my own hands. And I wouldn't call it trauma, but it did kind of set me back, I believe, in some ways.
Send you back. I don't know. I didn't follow what you meant when you said send you back.
Yeah.
When you
came out of religion, you went backwards. You felt like you had to start all over again. Is that what you're saying?
No, I would say in clinical terms, it was a learned helplessness where I was waiting for some kind of religious click. I was waiting for a golden trumpet, if you will. And it took me a long time to start being more proactive and having basically, I guess the clinical term would be agency in my life. Right. Because I was hung up on when is the end of the world going to come around tomorrow, or waiting for a sign basically, or I think there's a lot of, in my unprofessional opinion, I think there's a lot of crossover between schizophrenia and religious belief.
Well, I'm not going to go into schizophrenia, but let's just say that religions of all types tend to infantilize people. They tend to make you dependent. And that's what I hear you describing. How many years were you in religion? How many years were you in religion? How much were you indoctrinated as a child?
I wasn't, to be honest. I went to a Christian school, and then I went to church on and off as an adult, and then I found The Amazing Atheist, and that's kind of where I was in thought, but in belief, I still believed in the possibility of a higher power. I still do, actually, which was kind of going to come to my next question. But there was a lot of, I would say, in a fundamental sense of psychological waiting for a golden trumpet, whatever it was. And the main golden trumpet I was listening for was some kind of religious sign. I would, the phrase, not all who wander are lost. So I would, go on long walks, and I would wait for some kind of sign or something to click, and it just, never clicked. So while I wouldn't necessarily it would definitely, I feel like I lost a lot of time waiting for a sign.
You did. And some opportunities to probably function better in this world, learn some skills, get educated. There's probably a lot of opportunities you missed because of that. But the question now, and I think you're doing, sounds to me like you're doing well. You've taken control of your life. You're no longer waiting for this trumpet to blow.
Yeah, I mean, to expand on that more, there are some things, some people might call it flow or something like that, where, there were times where I did feel like there was some kind of push behind what I was doing. And when it came to doing certain things, I didn't feel this push. Like, I feel like even now, the pursuit of money, I feel it is a very crude and worldly thing, and it's I kind of, the pursuit of money doesn't have the same signs as some other things that I had come across. Like for me, music and chess were really profound, and those were things that had an emotional appeal to me, that I was waiting for some kind of spiritual thing, and for the most part, I didn't find it.
Yeah, I'm with Darrel, and that, exercise some caution when we start talking about what mental health conditions may or may not be associated with religious belief and religiosity, especially since some people try to equate and just say religion is a mental illness, which is absolutely not true. But as you're sitting here trying to find the things that mean something to you, those things that you have a preference for doesn't mean those things are better or more worthy. It just means they're perhaps more right for you. Maybe the same way that, maybe a pursuit of monetary improvement, it doesn't mean that much to you, and it definitely hasn't meant all that much to me. I think we both probably enjoy being better at chess more than that. It doesn't mean that somebody is doing something wrong by seeking financial gain, especially when the real question becomes, how do they use that? If Jeff Bezos, instead of flying off to space and seeking the way to make the most profit by having incredibly difficult employee rules, if he was instead just giving away money left and right in support of real initiatives, not just for tax breaks, okay, then I could see that pursuit of wealth being justified. I don't see it as justified. Well, I guess the thing is that to each their own. There are people who are going to find value and benefit in a variety of different pursuits, and I hope you find the ones that mean the most to you.
Okay, and if it's okay, can I, to put it in a question term, does it take more faith to be an atheist than not? And my question is essentially,
no. It doesn't take any faith to not be convinced of something. Faith is the excuse people give when they believe something and they don't have a good reason. If you believe something and you have a good reason, faith never comes up. It doesn't enter the picture until you don't have a good reason. But atheism is not a belief in the sense that doesn't require you to be convinced that a God doesn't exist. It just requires you to not be convinced that a God does exist. And it doesn't take any faith to not be convinced. It's the default position. You start off not convinced. You have to become convinced.
Right, but isn't it okay? I would have to think it through, because it kind of caught me off guard. I thought it through before I called, but the fact that we're here, I would say, for lack of a better word, requires some explanation, and either this explanation is supernatural or not. And so, if one lacks a belief in a God, doesn't it imply that they believe that the universe came about through natural means?
No, the fact that I'm not convinced a God exists doesn't tell you anything at all about what I believe about how the universe began. I may or may not believe that it had natural or supernatural origins, and that's a question with different foundations. But even if I'm the person who I am, which is I do not believe there are any gods. In fact, I actively believe there are no gods. I do not accept any claim of anything supernatural, and that doesn't require faith. It doesn't require faith to not be convinced when there isn't evidence for the claim.
Okay, so if atheism is a lack of a belief in gods, okay, so is the following statement not true? Either the universe came about through natural means or supernatural means?
It should be natural or non-natural, because I don't know what supernatural is, and neither does anybody else, because nobody's been able to demonstrate that anything supernatural exists or is real or can impact with the natural world. So for a correct logical negation, it is the explanation for the origin of the universe is either natural or non-natural.
Okay. So what I would posit as non-natural, I would say something that violates the laws of physics.
I don't know what that means, but okay. I don't think that's a good definition of non-natural. There is the natural world, and if there's something that's not a part of the natural world, then you would have to demonstrate that. You don't just get to say, oh, well, it's something that violates the laws of physics, because now you're making a claim about the nature of the non-natural world, and I don't know what your foundation is. In any case, to date, no one has demonstrated anything supernatural, or that it could exist, or that it possibly exists, or that it interacts with reality in any detectable way. So as long as that's the case, not believing in it is the default position.
But humor me here, Mr. Dillahunty. If you don't believe in that, doesn't that imply that the universe, caused itself?
No. I cannot be convinced that the butler killed somebody, and the butler might still have killed somebody. What I am convinced of or not convinced of is irrelevant to what actually happened. And just because I'm not convinced that the butler did it doesn't mean I'm not convinced the maid did it, doesn't mean I'm not convinced the gardener did it. You can't conflate those. That's a failing of logical argument. If the proposition is some God exists, some people accept that proposition. I do not accept that proposition. My not accepting that proposition does not mean that I think the universe necessarily came about through non-supernatural causes. I do, but that's not a result of that.
Okay, but it kind of goes back to the special pleading where...
No, sir, I don't think you're listening anymore, because after I keep explaining logical stuff to you, you say, okay, but, and then the word special pleading leave your mouth. I'm going to give you exactly one chance to show me where there was a special pleading fallacy on my part, because it didn't fucking happen. Because I'm not making a case. I'm saying I'm not convinced that a God exists. How is that special pleading?
Okay, give me a minute.
How about I give you a week?
Hold on.
Nope. You can call back next week when you come up with it, because you're not going to sit here and accuse me of fallacies that didn't happen. And then I'm supposed to let you sit around and think about it?